Hello everybody, welcome to another video. I actually don't know what I'm going to be reading this week, which is a really lovely, liberating feeling, but I do know that I want to be vlogging, so I figured I would start a new vlog today. Another reason for that being that I got some very exciting mail today. This arrived. I'm sure you can all recognize the stunning Book of the Month blue, and I'm so happy to say this video is actually being sponsored by Book of the Month. I'm sure plenty of you are familiar with what Book of the Month do, but in case you aren't, Book of the Month is a super popular and fast-growing online book service for readers. Their goal, their aim, their mission, of course, to help readers discover books that they love, but alongside that also really working to promote new and emerging authors. So every month the Book of the Month team vets hundreds and hundreds of titles, and then from those books they curate a selection of new and early releases, which means the lovely users of the Book of the Month service can spend more time reading and less time researching. Book of the Month is also completely risk-free, no questions asked, so if at any point you want to skip a month, you absolutely can and you won't be charged. So alongside that risk-free aspect, Book of the Month also have the best price for new release hardcover fiction, and you can get your first book for just $9.99 using the code COZY. Book of the Month is based in the US, and as of right now they are only shipping to US addresses. I know a huge proportion of you who watch my videos are also based in the US, so I really hope you can take advantage of this stunning offer. $9.99 for a brand new hardback. Exactly. Okay, I genuinely cannot wait any longer. I'm going to talk you through quickly the November picks. Exactly, you've got great taste, and exactly coming with a bookmark. Very cute. So first up, as you've seen, is The Family by Naomi Krapitsky. This is right up my street. It is a mafia type story set in Brooklyn, New York, but it focuses on the women in that world. Thank you. So it's about two daughters, and I'm assuming their relationship to each other and also with everything else going on in their lives. The Family is a sweeping saga that offers a fresh take on old New York, the American dream, and what it means to inherit the wounds of past generations. I'm so keen of that. I love the American dream in fiction, and I really do love mafia gangster vibes. Those of you who know me, you know I love film. Films like The Godfather, Goodfellas, some of my favorites, so I'm absolutely here for stories like this, especially ones that center the women. Next up is The Collective by Alison, Gale, and this looks once again very much up my street. It is about women, I think it's about revenge, and I think it's a thriller type vibe. Quite a striking and sad premise in this. A woman who is 5 years on still dealing with the death of her daughter. She becomes obsessed with a privileged young man that she believes is responsible, and I think things really spiral from there. It's a psychological thriller. She ends up connecting with other women who are going through something similar and who are obsessed with getting revenge. Oh, thank you. It's just a bit ridiculous how much these are all 10 out of 10 Caitlin books. Like, exactly a romance, exactly about Keanu Reeves. This is K.M. Jackson's How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days. Thank you. Illustrated cover, beautiful. So our main girlie is obsessed with Keanu Reeves, and when news breaks that he's getting married in 90 days, she drops everything and decides to go on a road trip to convince him that he's the one for her. She takes her best friend who has a crush on her on the journey. Wow, we know where this is going. Also very relatable content, being utterly convinced that if famous men knew you, they would 100% want to marry you. Like, I feel very represented. Next up is a fantasy that promises to be utterly fantastic. This is The Keeper of Night. It's by Kylie Lee Baker, and side note, I love when books have a quote on the back. And I mean, that cover is just out of this world. So Ren, our main character, is half British Reaper and half Japanese Shinigami. Ren has been collecting souls in the London streets for centuries. Exactly, she has. That's girl boss behavior. So I think Ren is going to be faced with heaps of trials and tribulations. Ren will learn how far she'll go to claim her place at death's side. Honestly, can I join her? And then we have A Little Hope. This is by Ethan Joller, and I think it is kind of a dark domestic contemporary fiction vibe. Oh, it's set in Connecticut. I love that. vibrant, luminous and life-affirming novel set in an idyllic Connecticut town. Over the course of a year, A Little Hope follows the intertwining lives of dozens of neighbors as they confront everyday desires and fears, a lost love, a stalled career, an illness, and a betrayal. We've got a kite on the cover. I'm sure that'll be symbolic of something. Can't wait to find out. So those are the 5 selections for the month. What a range. We basically have contemporary, perhaps literary fiction, we've got some fantasy, we've got romance, we've got a thriller, and we've got historical fiction. She has the range. Book of the month also do add-ons each month, so if you're a first-time member you can sign up picking any book you'd like, including the add-ons. The first add-on this month is Will. This is of course written by Will Smith, but also by Mark Manson. Obviously Will Smith has had quite the career in the entertainment industry, music, film, you name it. He is a huge star, and this is all about his life and everything he's gone through and how it's got him to the point he's at now. In terms of biographies, I think he'd be a fascinating person to read about. The next add-on is My Body by Emily Ratakowski. This is actually a series of essays, and I believe they're feminist essays. Thank you. So this collection of essays is said to be a profoundly personal exploration of feminism, sexuality and power, of men's treatment of women, and women's rationalizations for accepting that treatment. Emily Ratakowski is obviously a huge figure in the modelling and also kind of the film world. I'm sure you recognise her. Very intrigued to read what she has to say. I mean, wow, with all of these stunning titles on offer, I genuinely don't even know what I would pick if I had to pick one for my monthly book of the month. I obviously would be extremely tempted by the romance, but I think perhaps I would push myself to get the non-fiction My Body, the collection of essays on feminism. But again, every single title here absolutely entices me. What a fantastic selection and service. Actually, let me know what you would have picked from that selection. And remember to head to bookofthemonth.com and use the code COZY to get your first book for $9.99. Thanks so much to Book of the Month for sending me their books for November and for sponsoring this video. Can't wait to hopefully read some of them soon. Hello, welcome to Friday. It is currently early afternoon. I've done some admin work type things this morning, and I'm hoping that this afternoon I can just chill out and do some reading. I am currently reading 2 books. The Midnight Library by Matt Haig and Luna and the Lie by Mariana Zapata, which I'm reading on my Kindle. If you're unaware of Mariana Zapata, she is a fantastic and widely loved romance author who writes extremely long, slow burn romances. She does it like no other. She does the grumpy mans like no other. She is just a very special person. She's a gift. She is a gift to our lives. I'm 27% of the way through. I'm on to chapter 9. It's definitely good. I'm really excited for where it's going. I love the build up, but even so, like, Mariana's getting a little bit like hot and heavy early on. I think I was only like 10% of the way through when the grumpy man smiled. I mean, all roads lead here. I had to bloody wait till like 30-something%. I'm not mad about either scenario. I was just like, wow. Because apparently Luna and the Lie is her slowest burn ever, but we're already getting those romance crumbs. Very excited for their journey. Lucas Ripley, Luna Ellen, happy for them. Currently, I would say, aside from Hands Down, which is the only Mariana Zapata I've read that I didn't really take to, it's a sort of spin-off of The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, which I loved, and I just think it didn't really have that spark that her other work has had for me. Apart from that, this is probably the book I'm enjoying the least that I've read by her, but that's not to say I'm not enjoying it. Even when a Mariana Zapata is in the top tier of her books, it's still the utmost tier on the general romance scale. So reading like All Roads Lead Here from Luca with Love All Those, I was absolutely in it and just dying from the get-go. This one less so, but I'm still very much excited. Might read more of that today, but I think my main plan is to read more and hopefully finish The Midnight Library. I'm almost halfway through now. 300-page book. I'm on page 121. I've had this on my shelves for a little while. I completely bought into the hype and really wanted to see what it was about when this book was really blowing up and doing really well in the mainstream culture. Both Chloe and Kevin have read it recently. They enjoyed it, so I thought maybe the time is now. I'm finding it perfectly readable, somewhat unremarkable. It just has that particular flavor of book that I find it quite difficult to articulate, but what I mean is, you know when you start reading something and you're just like, oh okay, so this is that kind of book, blockbuster feel. Just feels like a very straight down the line, norm core, pseudo emotional book. where all the different parts are there to try and really pack an emotional punch. But if you strip it back and almost unravel it a bit, it's not really got a lot of substance or development going on. Whether that makes any sense, I don't know. Essentially, I don't really feel anything for our main character, who we follow right from the get-go and has decided to end her life, and then the Midnight Library is this sort of in-between in which she arrives, where she can tap into all these different avenues down which her life could have gone, and she can explore and experiment and experience those lives for a time before coming back to the Midnight Library and perhaps trying another. I would say thus far there's not much to Nora at all. It seems not rushed, just I suppose a tad shallow. I wasn't expecting great things from this book, and it's not delivering great things, so it's meeting that kind of widely read book blockbuster reputation at the moment where it's super popular. I guess I can see why, but I can also see that there's not a great deal of extraordinary literary magic going on here, at least not for me. I'm going to hopefully do lots of reading over the weekend. I'm not too sure what I'll be picking up next after those books. Lots of good options. For example, I want to reread Gone Girl. Chloe needs to read it for the first time. I want to read Night Bitch. I need to start my Patreon buddy read book, which is The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels. So we'll see where we end up. I'll let you know. Mentally, I just have no idea where I am right now. Please excuse, oh, that feels nice. Please excuse the somewhat disheveled appearance. I've basically been lying on my bed reading all afternoon, and my right eye was having one of those moments where it just would not stop weeping. I just constantly had a string of tears coming down and down. No idea why. I don't think it was an emotional thing. I think it was just entirely biological, physical, nonsensical. So that happened, and a whole chunk of my makeup is just gone now. The reason I've been lying on my bed reading is because, having done my Patreon live show this morning, which was so fun, I just wanted to chill and put all my effort toward fighting away the reading slump that I can somewhat feel delicately making its way into my psyche. We don't want that. The power of Christ compels you. Leave me alone. I want to keep my fun reading mood up. I don't want to slow down or stop. And I think part of the reason I just wasn't super psyched about reading, and still kind of am not super psyched about it, is I'm reading The Midnight Library, which I'm not particularly enjoying. As I've said, I'm actually highly considering putting this down about halfway through it, and I'm just not entirely sure that whatever payoff lies in the second half will be worth the arduous mission of actually reading the second half. So high possibility of a DNF in this territory. I was enjoying what I had read of Luna and the Lie, not enjoying across the board. There were some things that I was like, what's that about? Just some weird lines that didn't need to be in the book, just some stuff that is a little bit cringe for Mariana Zapata. She sometimes delves into that territory, but it's never like fully taken me out of the book or made me doubt the book before in the past. But in this book, I'm kind of like, what are you doing? And the whole setting of like a mechanic working in a car shop with like all these men, like I just don't know if that's where I want my romance novel set. So there's questionable material there. But of course I was willing to keep on keeping on, because Mariana Zapata, she is special. Luna and the Lie, however, was it that special? In case you could not gather, I have actually finished it. I was having this discussion about the impending reading slump, and I was like, Chloe, so sorry, I think I'm gonna have to just speed ahead and try read all of Luna and the Light today, because I think reading it in small sections and increments was definitely not helping the reading slump climbing upon me. I just love to binge a romance, especially a slow burn. I want to get to the good stuff, you know. Sad news all around. I gave it 2 stars. This was really not her best. I read Hands Down somewhat recently, and I was quite let down by that book, but I honestly think Hands Down might be better than Luna and the Lie. I gave hands down 2 stars as well, but it was so long, you guys. I think it is her longest book. It's like over 600 pages and the payoff was not satisfying. I mean, I don't want to get spoilery, but it was simultaneously as if some things happened too soon and then some things didn't happen at all, which made for a very unbalanced, ungratifying equation. By the time I got to the end, there was not a whole lot to redeem it. So unfortunately, Luna and the Liar is a no from me, and it's extremely upsetting that the last 2 Mariana Zapatas I've read have been letdowns. I never thought I'd say that about my queen. Deep breaths. However, I can feel deep within my soul, within my bones, I can feel Culty by Mariana Zapata calling my name in a language that only I understand. Like, I can feel that book in my DNA already, and I haven't read it, and I just know that I need to read it soon, like really soon, like maybe even this month. In the meantime, I'm like a bit of a free agent since I'm DNFing the Midnight Library and I finished Luna and the Lie. Oh, I actually read another book today. I read a poetry book. I'm going to be that person. I'm going to be so lazy that I'm not going to get up and get that book, nor am I even going to talk about it right now because I have been blabbering on. I'm emotionally exhausted. I don't have the energy to further this clip in any way or to even think about what I'm going to start reading next. I think tonight needs to be a really chill movie watching night in which I do not use a single brain cell. Please wish me luck in that. And I'll catch you tomorrow. Also, Mariana, if you're watching this, I still love you. You hurt me, but like, I still love you. Hello. It's actually been a couple of days because I had a highly unmotivated moment. I had a moment where I felt quite sick for over a day, so things just haven't really been in my favor for the past few days. But I'm back. I'm here to update you. And I remember I mentioned that I read some poetry over the weekend, but I didn't talk to you about what. It was this collection here, War of the Foxes by Richard Seikin, who is one of, if not my favourite poet, having read his collection Crush, which I love, possibly my favourite poetry collection ever. And I of course wanted to read War of the Foxes, his follow-up. Unfortunately, I just did not connect with this as much. I think it's excellent and a real showcase once again of his incredible touch that he has. He just does something with language that I've not experienced with any other writer, and while I can appreciate that within this collection, it just didn't hit me quite as much. So I ended up giving this 3 stars overall. I think perhaps if I were to revisit it at a later point in perhaps a different mindset, I could love it a lot more and connect with it a lot more. One thing I somewhat struggled with was the sort of overarching extended metaphor to do with painting. For some reason, I'm just not connecting with that in this moment in time. So because a lot of what he's doing here is built around that metaphor, it didn't fully captivate me in that way, but as always, a huge fan of his work. So amidst feeling sick and unenthused by life, why is someone doing fireworks in the middle of the day? Babes, it's bright blue sky outside. What's the point? Also, I'm trying to film. Like I was saying, even though I've been kind of wallowing in a bit of a self-pity / self-care moment, I have done quite a bit of life admin productivity activities. Like, I did quite a substantial book unhaul and slight bookshelf reorganization. You might be able to see behind me, things look a little bit different. Things also look quite different on these shelves. I'll give you a quick once over shortly. And then I also went through everything in my desk, like all my stationery, all my junk, all my files, that sort of stuff, and condensed that down to the bare necessities. Obviously not bare necessities when it comes to stationery because I have way too much, but like whatever. And I got a new laptop stand which gives me much more desk space, so with that real estate I can do more like journaling and stuff with my hands. Exactly. And I recently went through all my makeup and redid my kind of vanity setup, so it's just all feeling very fresh and clean. Number one chick when I step out on the scene in my room right now, and that feeling of really curating your space and going through it, cleaning it all, only putting back what gives you joy and just kind of letting go of everything else is such a stunning feeling, and I feel really grateful to be at a point where I've finished uni and I'm not yet doing any sort of part-time work, except for obviously this stuff, where I have that time to make those life and space improvements. Now on to what I'm reading. Wow, for Chain of Gold. If you've been watching my videos this year, you'll know that I've recently read the Infernal Devices trilogy, and though I was really excited for those books, my main focus there was reading them in order to get to Chain of Gold and subsequently Chain of Iron. Chloe and Kevin loved this book, and I just was not prepared to miss out on that fun. Honestly, is there any force with more strength in getting you to read than FOMO? Perhaps not. I had a really good time with the Infernal Devices, especially the first book, and I just love the characters, so the fact that we get to see some of those characters in this book as well, thank you. So this is about basically the children of those characters, and so far it is really delivering. I'm halfway through. I'm on page 302 of just under 600. My camera battery is flashing. Let me talk very quickly. What do I want to say? What do I want to say? Basically, I'm in love with every single character. James, thank you. Cordelia, thank you. Lucy, thank you. Anna Lightwood, thank you. Oh my gosh, Anna Lightwood, we're rolling with the LGBT, like, thank you. The writing is fantastic. Everything that I love in the Infernal Devices books is here and maximized, because her writing has obviously got better, really well crafted, really well paced book. I was in it from the get-go, and I'm so excited to read more of it, which I'm hopefully gonna do this afternoon. Gonna charge my camera now. See you soon. Hello, you are officially looking at somebody who has read Chain of Gold. Look, 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 look. I really enjoyed this. Such a solid, lovable, exciting cast of characters. Loved the little snippets into each of their lives that we got to experience, and also loved that we got to spend quite a bit of time with the characters we love so much from the Infernal Devices, which are also in this book. I can absolutely appreciate how difficult it must be to balance and pace a story that is of course so lengthy, but also that focuses on so many different players. I was very impressed by that, and I really enjoyed my time with it. I decided to give it 4 stars. It just didn't quite get to like peak perfection level for a couple of reasons. Something for me, and I think this is one of the reasons I'm putting quite a bit of distance between myself and reading YA, even though obviously I've been reading this, is that I'm just not really one for the action of it all, and so many of them really revolve around, you know, big fantasy action plot vibes, and that's just never been my favorite aspect of any novel really. This particular book had a lot of sort of fighting, battle, action sequences, and I'll be honest, I just kind of tune out unless, you know, there's some sort of stunning sacrificial moment with one of the characters, like saving each other, something like that. Of course that's fun, but overall I'm just not here to vibe with the shadow hunters because they fight demons. I'm here to vibe with them because they're sexy. And then there was some sort of character relationship decisions that I wasn't totally on board with or convinced by. I understand this is the first in a series and a lot of it is set up, but at about 600 pages in length, I'm expecting some sort of cementing, some sort of solidifying, some sort of, you know, rather than just completely scattergunning everything, throwing caution to the wind. It was just a little bit much, and I don't know how I feel about some of it, but obviously love Cordelia, love James, love Lucy, love Anna, love Matthew, like literally love everyone. Very big good for them vibes. I think I've mentioned previously in this video that I did some rearranging, reshuffling with my shelves, and I was going to show you. I'm not quite 100% happy with everything yet. There are still some moving parts, so I think what I'll do is I'll show you guys in the next video. So for now, I will say thank you so much for watching. Thank you again to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!